What's up, everybody? Thanks for listening to the Whatcast, and you should be getting this pretty much on the day of Thanksgiving. So if you observe, happy Thanksgiving.
And it's a perfect opportunity to introduce us to your family. It'll be like we're there with you. Just like put a speaker inside the turkey. So as you're eating, it's like our voices are coming from the turkey. We're part of your meal, and we're hanging out with you and your family. But then again, since this is, coming out on Thanksgiving, chances are you're probably not listening to this and you don't have the opportunity to plan for a speaker in your turkey. So what I'm going to ask is that you tell all your family to come back, have another Thanksgiving where you put this inside the turkey, and who doesn't want a second Thanksgiving? I'm sure it'll be fine. Everybody will come back, and then you can introduce us. And we want family photos too, with us as the turkey with your family.
It's kind of an unwritten tradition that we always come through on Thanksgiving for those long commutes people have to visit family. So we're not letting you down this year either. Mike's got some very interesting shit to talk about.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting if you're into aliens and UFOs, I guess. I don't know if our listeners are into that sort of thing, but if you are, and family as well, family, if you guys are into it, and honestly, family, if I could just talk to you for a minute, if you're not into UFOs and everything, just shut the fuck up and listen anyway, because I'm talking about UFOs here. I don't give a shit about. Just eat some fucking turkey, eat some mashed potatoes, and just suck it up for the good of the universe, would you? We're doing the Lord's work.
Amen.
Hey man, can I get a hallelujah? So the case that I want to talk about is one I've heard about in passing. I didn't really get more than, I guess, the initial sighting is all that I've heard about, but there's more to the story. But it's the Varginha, Brazil UFO crash. Does that sound familiar to you at all?
It could. It reminds me of like a South American one, maybe, but there's been so many of those that we've covered.
Yeah, I mean, there's been so many in Brazil alone, but this one is there's no blood-sucking balls of light in this one, unfortunately. But there is a alien and stuff, so that's cool. So anyway, this happened in 1996, at the beginning of the year, January 20th, 1996. And the initial sighting took place in the afternoon. The Silva sisters, Lilane and Valquíria Fatima Silva, and their friend Katia Andrade Xavier, all witnessed this strange creature on the side of the road, like by this stone wall. And they said the creature was a bipedal creature that was crouching down by the wall, like kind of like in a squatting position. And they said it was roughly 5 feet tall, with a thin body, a huge big head, V-shaped feet, and it had brown skin and big red eyes with no pupils. And they said it had these 3 nubs, like not quite horns, but like protrusions coming off the top of the head. One of the girls, Valquíria, said that she looked it in the eyes. She looked this thing in the eye, and she got the impression that this thing was hurt or sick, because it seemed to be like unsteady and it was kind of wobbling in its posture. And she said when she locked eyes with it, she was frightened, but she also got the impression that the being was also afraid. And so it was just this brief moment of, contact between them, and she kind of got the feeling that this thing was just as afraid as they were. But the three of them ran away, and they went to the Silva sisters' house, where they ran into their mom. And at this point, they said they told her that they had seen the devil or a demon, having no other real context for it. I mean, it's this weird brown-skinned creature with big red eyes and these horn-like things on its head. So it's like, without any context, and especially if you're of the Christian faith, and if you were superstitious as well, there's a very real possibility you'd think this was a demon. But so anyway, they got their mom, and the mom went out with them. She didn't believe the story they were telling. And so she goes back to where they saw this, and she said, when they got there, the creature was gone, but there was this strong sulfuric smell in the air. And there was a dog sniffing on the ground, and they looked, and there was a footprint there. And the footprint itself was a round footprint with 3 long toes coming off of it. And allegedly, this sulfuric smell stuck around the area for 20 days after this sighting.
20 days?
Yeah, with no real reason behind that either.
Yeah.
But, you know how I like to tie everything together. Here we are with the sulfuric smell again.
Mm-hmm.
Mysterious creature, sulfuric smell. And this time it lingered. What's going on?
It lingered.
It's the worst fart in the history of farts. It just lingered in the air, man. But this was just the initial sighting. 2 days later, there was another creature, or I should say another sighting. Whether it was another creature or not is I guess open for discussion. But 2 days later, there was a creature that was found laying next to the side of a road, and 3 military trucks and some fire trucks as well were seen where this body was, and the military trucks retrieved the body and then drove off. There was also a janitor at a nearby zoo who reported seeing this creature as well. And 3 months following the sighting, 3 animals had died mysteriously. Whether it's a coincidence or not, that's hearsay. But this is another person citing this creature. During this period of time, there was also a farmer and his wife who reported seeing a UFO that was hovering over one of their fields, specifically over their herd of cattle. And they first noticed this thing when the cattle started getting agitated and making a lot of noise. So they were checking out what was going on, and in the process of that, they noticed this flying object that was hovering above them. And they said they watched it, and it hovered there for 40 minutes before it took off. So that I've got some ideas about that I'll get to. But these are all the initial sightings that first came out, and it made worldwide news. You can find the interviews with the girls. Just recently, they did an updated interview with them, all as adults, because the girls were, I believe, 14, 18, and 21 at the time of the sighting. So now they're all, full-grown adult women, and there's interviews with them. I believe that happened this year because a documentary just recently came out about this called, I believe, Moment of Contact. But it's all about this event. But it kind of gets a bit like Roswell. First off, there's reports from individuals inside the local hospital that claim that there were 2 bodies that were brought in, and they were admitted to the hospital before the military took them away once they were treated. This kind of goes with later on. There was so these were the initial sightings, but later on there was kind of some backstory that got filled in with this. The story goes that on January 13th, 1996, the U.S. military shot down a UFO and caused it to crash 6 miles outside of Varginha. The initial crash was witnessed by a college professor and amateur pilot named Carlos de Souza, and he himself witnessed this crash and actually went to the crash site. But he said the craft itself was about the size of a school bus, but it was shaped like a submarine. And as he saw it crashing, he saw this large, what he described as a gash in the back of the craft, and it was billowing white smoke out of it. And it wasn't, he said it was making like back and forth jerking motions as it was descending. But once he saw it crash, he ran to the crash site. And this is where it gets just like Roswell. He said he saw all of this foil-like metal debris all across the field. And he was able to pick it up and like crumble it up or fold it, and then it would immediately return back to its original shape once he let go of it. Within minutes of him observing this crash, the military showed up and ordered him to leave the scene. The Brazilian military, not the U.S. military. 6 miles from the crash site itself, the military, along with the fire department, they set up, the fire department was involved with them because the local fire department, I don't know if it's the case all across Brazil, but the fire department in this area was under the control of the military police. So the military and the fire department set up a roadblock 6 miles from the crash site, and the fire department is actually said to be the ones who initially captured one of the creatures. And then later on, another officer came in and found the second one on the road, and the second one he found was near where the girls had their original sighting. And when he grabbed the creature, it apparently scratched him, and he later got sick as a result. And apparently it caused his hands to become paralyzed in like a claw shape.
Ooh.
Yeah. So, I mean, right there, the one thing before I get into some of these wacky debunking explanations and some stuff that's coming out now, I do want to say that this Carlos de Souza guy, who's the one who's reporting that he saw this crash, he is also the one that made this documentary. So I just wanted to put that out there, whether that makes him more credible or not. I want that information to be out there so you guys are aware. But to have the way that I'm looking at it is his part of the story very closely mirrors the Roswell story. You know, you've got the alien bodies showing up in the hospital and then being taken away by the military. You've got the foil metal that returns to its shape after you crumble it. And there's no real evidence of it, unless there is, which I'll get to. But there's no actual evidence that's been released to the public. So there's nothing, like, he doesn't have any evidence other than his story. And the girls that saw the creature have no evidence other than their story. Same with all the other witnesses. There's no video footage of any of this. There's no UFO footage. It's all a story, which is kind of fun. You know, it's like one of those one-off cryptid things, because it's a weird type of alien. You know, it's not your typical alien type. It's not a lizard person. It's not a gray. It's not a tall white. Like, this is its own thing, which is pretty cool.
Do they have any like artist depictions of this?
Oh yeah, yeah. There's plenty of artist depictions of it, and it in a lot of ways it looks like a gray, except that it's brown and it has red eyes and the nubs on its head. But it's got like the spindly arms and the oversized head and all that.
The description reminds me of another case where it was like a humanoid sighting, very similar sounding creature, and I think it was in Brazil. It like hid behind a fence or something.
This is very likely the one you're talking about.
Oh.
There's allegedly a picture that was leaked. There's a few pictures that were allegedly leaks that came out. I'll have a few so we can put them in the show notes or post them on our website or something. But one of them is really grainy, and it just shows the top of like this bulbous head kind of poking over the top of a wall. And that's supposed to be the real one. But then there's other ones that show a brown thing with red eyes. But there's actually lately there's been a lot of talk of this video. There's a video that's supposed to be out there of these things, and it takes a really weird turn that reminds me a lot of like the Paul Benowitz thing in the way that it plays out. But yeah.
Looking at the pictures of the description of the artist depictions of this thing, I definitely have seen some of these images before.
Yeah, they are familiar ones, and I think that this is probably the case you're thinking of.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay.
But before I get into like the stuff that's coming out, I wanna talk about some potential explanations, which this, along with the stuff I got coming, really makes me think about the potential for a psyop. But so in 2010, the Brazilian military officially concluded the case, and they stated that the girls had come across a homeless man, and he was mentally ill and naked and covered in mud, and the man was nicknamed Mudinho. And they presented photographs of this guy, and he had the apparently the physical similarities. He was a short, spindly guy with a big head, and he was covered in mud. And one thing I did forget to mention, all of the people that saw this thing mentioned that its body looked like it was oily or wet. It, like one person described it as looking like it had just come out of the water.
This thing is like making me think more and more of like a salamander type entity, like a salamander being.
Yeah, like instead of a reptoid, it's amphibioid.
Right.
Yeah. Well, no, it's a homeless guy covered in mud. Sorry, that was the sighting. And then regarding the sighting of the military trucks picking up the alien body, Lieutenant Colonel Lucio Carlos Finholt Pareda, who is the head of official inquiry on this case, he came out and said that there was a military vehicle convoy with the fire department, but it was routine maintenance, and the convoy is what explains the sightings on the main road. They weren't picking up a body, and there was no roadblock. It was just routine maintenance on government vehicles.
I mean, that's believable, right?
Sure it is. But I find it odd that in like all these high profile cases, you have the military after the fact just being, oh no, we were just running drills. Like that was the big thing with the Phoenix Lights. After the fact, they go, no, that was us. We were, even though we initially said we weren't running drills, we in fact were running drills. That was us the whole time. Nothing to see here.
Mm-hmm.
But the dumbest explanation by far is regarding the bodies that were found, that were seen at the hospital. This fucker from the military claims that they weren't aliens. They were actually an expectant couple with dwarfism. So according to this guy, people in the hospital can't tell the difference between a red-eyed, brown-skinned alien and a couple with dwarfism. Really, really fucking interesting. I don't know. I've seen a few dwarves in my day, and never once did I think that they were aliens.
Same.
You know, maybe I'm the weird one. You know, and if I am, I'm sorry. But you know, I don't get in the habit of calling people aliens. Just not my bag, man. So speaking of Brazil, you know, since this case takes place in Brazil, it's got me thinking, and I know this might be a little inappropriate, but it's got me thinking about my junk, Mateo. And I've been really kind of thinking about trying one of those Brazilian waxes, you know, where they you know, basically give you underwear made of wax and then rip it off, and then you're shiny and sparkly like a plastic doll.
Yeah, dude, you know that includes everywhere when they do the Brazilian wax.
Sure do. Gotta get those hard to reach areas, you know.
Are you sure you want to do that?
Well, hey, I don't see a better way.
Well, I was saving this for Christmas, Mike, but here you go.
What is this magnificent package here?
This is the Performance Package 4.0 from Manscaped.
Ooh, what's in it?
It comes with the Lawnmower 4.0 with all new skin-safe electric trimmer blades.
Well, already it sounds better than the wax.
Yeah. Also comes with the Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer, which we all need.
Wasn't about to wax my nose.
That's a new thing now, they do that. It also comes with the Crop Preserver Anti-Chafing Ball Deodorant and Crop Reviver Ball Spray Toner, which smell wonderful. You like sandalwood there, buddy?
I do, and I didn't even know these sorts of things existed, so I'm glad that I can now deodorize and condition my balls.
Yeah, Manscaped is also going to give you 2 free gifts. The Shed Travel Bag and Manscaped Boxers, which are probably the most comfortable underwear I've ever put on.
Ooh, well, this sounds nice. So, since I've got one, I feel like maybe we should extend this to our dear listeners, because it is Thanksgiving as of the release of this episode, and you know what comes after Thanksgiving? It's Christmas shopping season, specifically Black Friday, and I think it might be a good idea for our listeners to get on there, take advantage of this for Black Friday. Do we have any way to extend maybe some of this offer to our wonderful listeners?
We do. If any of our listeners want to primp up their no-no zones, you can go to manscaped.com, click on the Performance Package 4.0, and at checkout, enter the code WHATCAST and get 20% off plus free shipping.
That's a lot of percent off.
It is.
I might just go buy one just to give away for Christmas this year.
Yeah, dude, it's better than ripping out all your cubicles.
Yeah. Thank you for saving me.
That's what friends are for.
Yay, friends.
Again, go to manscaped.com, use the code WHATCAST, and get yourself all prim and proper down there.
So with all of this bullshit excuses, like it really makes me think of Roswell, you know, with how they kept changing, the military kept changing their response to what it was. You know, first it was a weather balloon, and then I can't remember what they said it was, and then they're like, nope, it wasn't that either. It was actually a Project Mogul device that crashed, and that's what you saw. That, you know, and when you put out that many stories, when your initial story is we found a fucking UFO, and then you come up with all these other like, come on. And this is kind of the same way. And the weird thing is, stuff kept coming up about this. So they officially put it to bed in 2010. But in 2012, there was a UFO researcher named Vittorio Paccaccini, and he claimed that a senior officer in the Brazilian military showed him a clip of a video that depicts these creatures. And he said the clip he saw was 35 seconds long. And in the clip, he describes seeing a creature that has brown skin with what looks like oil or grease all over the body. And it had a big head with red eyes, no pupils. And he said the face was kind of reptilian, but also like a frog, but it had a small slit for a mouth and those big bulging red eyes. And he said the eyes themselves were 3 times bigger than a human eye, and it had 3 nubs on top of its head. And the video that he saw, there was only one creature, and he said that in the video the creature was alive, but it looked weak and like it was dying. And he said the creature was making a noise that sounded very similar to the buzz of a bee.
Oh,
Yeah, that is kind of creepy.
it is.
But I remember another video of an alleged gray that kind of made a noise, not so much like a buzz of a bee, but like kind of like a crackling noise. I wonder if it's like some weird like bone vibration noise. Like rather than like a vocal cord type of situation. I don't know. But so that was in 2012 when that happened. In 2014, another Brazilian UFO researcher, Patricia Fernandes Silva, not related to the Silva sisters. Anyone who watches MMA knows, like, there's Silva's like Smith. They're everywhere. And very few of them are related. So this researcher was invited to meet up with this sheriff. He had called her up to meet at this office building to discuss a UFO case. When she gets there, it wasn't like she had thought. She ended up getting interrogated by a sheriff and 4 other officers. And they were being really heavy-handed and demanding, saying they wanted to know what information she had on the Varginha case. And at the time, she had not even researched the case and had nothing to do with the case at all or anyone who has researched the case. So after getting nowhere, the sheriff asked the other officers to leave the room. And once they leave the room, he pulls out this folder. And she said that the sheriff was struggling to get this out of the folder because his hands were frozen, like in a claw-like thing. So he pulls out this picture and he shows her this picture, and there's 2 creatures in the picture, and one of them appeared to be dead, and the other one was in a crouched position, similar to how the girls described the one that they saw. And she described the creatures, and she said that the one that was alive had a gloss to his skin. She said it didn't really look oily, but it looked more like it was wet, like it just came out of the water. And the other one, the one that was dead, looked dry. But the photo she saw, the creatures had black eyes rather than red eyes. But other than that, everything else was the same. They were brown, nubs on their head, big head, skinny, all that. So once she had looked the picture over, the sheriff took it back and again struggled to get it back in. And he claimed that he was the officer that captured one of them. And he said since the day that he had touched the creature, his hands had been paralyzed. And that's why they're permanently in a cupped position.
Since he touched it, or it scratched him?
Since he touched it.
Oh.
So the story was that it scratched him, but he's saying he just touched it.
Oh, wow.
And so maybe that's what that stuff on the skin is, some sort of venom. Like if it's an amphibian type thing, like think about poison dart frogs. You know, they're able to secrete the poison through their skin. What if this is the same sort of thing, but instead of a poison, it's like a paralytic toxin. And if you get it on your hands and it absorbs through your pores, you become paralyzed.
Right. These things are sounding, and even description alone here, really amphibioid. And these are the same beings that are supposed to have been seen inside the crashed UFO?
So no one at the crash site, there's no report of bodies. So I think what we're led to believe is that the 2 beings escaped from the crash and, wandered out into the countryside of Brazil.
Well, well, let's see here. Maybe they're all photos of the same creatures, but it seems like there's 5 or 6 different ones running around.
Or maybe it's just the two that were seen by multiple people.
Right.
In just different places. Yeah. But this Paccaccini guy, since seeing that clip, he took a deep dive and went down the rabbit hole. And since that 2012 meeting, he has recorded interviews with at least 7 military officers regarding the case. And he's actually keeping the interviews in a secured location for now, but he has openly accused the Brazilian military, of covering up the case. And since he's gone public with it, he started getting bumped while driving. And on 4 different occasions, someone has bumped his car while he was driving. And on one occasion, someone opened fire at him with a gun.
Oh.
And so and then he started getting death threats over the phone and through the mail. So he actually ended up moving to Italy to escape the Brazilian military. But he still has all the interviews. And apparently this clip of the video is floating around somewhere. If any of you guys listening are active in the UFO community on Twitter, this has been something that's been going around for a while. Like probably the last month or so, it's kind of been like everyone's waiting for this video to drop. There have been some stills allegedly, but there's like 3 or 4 different three or four different versions, I should say, of the still. And I know one of them, I believe, was actually a still from an episode of the X-Files. So, when you get this type of thing where you've got all these pictures out there, it's very likely they're all phony, or maybe released intentionally to further the psyop. But to me, it seems weird that in 2014, so 4 years after it's been officially closed, this UFO researcher gets pulled in and interrogated about this case by the local sheriff. Like, what? And it almost seems like that was like an off the books sort of thing,
Yeah, even dismissed other officers from the room before he produced this photo.
Right. Yeah. It seems weird. And then when you put in the high-ranking military official showing Paccaccini this clip, to me it just kind of really starts to feel like a psyop sort of thing. Like they in 2010 they released all these bullshit things. 2012 they contact a UFO researcher to show this video. 2014 another UFO researcher's interrogated on it. After it's officially been closed. So why keep this going? There's got to be, if you've closed the case and it's a legit alien case you don't want out there, why would you keep it going?
Exactly. And it seems like all the new information that we're going to get, or that we've got, and even the new interest drummed up about this case comes from their military, their government.
Yeah.
So that's a big red flag right there for me.
Yeah, and another, I feel like it's worth mentioning. I don't know if it necessarily ties, but in 1998, there was a video game that was produced in Brazil based on this event. And it was the first-person shooter that was produced in Brazil. But for some reason, it was mostly sold in Russia. But it was... there's actually a playthrough of it on YouTube, but I guess the story centers around this crash, and you're a military officer that finds the aliens, and then their ship blows up, and then you find out that the military are trying to kill the aliens, but the aliens are peaceful, so then you've got to help them and fight against the military. But apparently the developers of this game were contacted by U.S. Special Forces so that the game could be used to train their operatives, which is pretty interesting to me. Yeah.
What? I mean, to an alien combat aid?
I don't know. But it's kind of interesting.
The developer states that?
Yeah.
Wow.
And I mean, that was in 98. So maybe, it doesn't look like it's like cutting edge for the time or anything, but maybe the game mechanics were really good. I don't know. I've never played it. I briefly watched somebody playing it on YouTube just to get a feel for what the game was like, but that was it.
Do you know the name of the game?
I think it's Invasion of Varginha, but in Portuguese.
I'm gonna definitely have to check out that playthrough.
Yeah. If you look up Invasion of Varginha, it should pop up.
Nice.
Yeah. So I go two ways with it, because we've got sightings of this creature, and I'm not buying that it's a homeless guy or dwarves in a hospital. I'm not buying it. So what was the creature? Was the creature like some sort of cutting edge costume design, or was it a legit creature? I'm not thinking that people are stupid enough that they see a guy covered in mud and they're like, that's a fucking alien, or see a pregnant dwarf woman and assume that's come on. People are dumb, but we're not that dumb. But then with the whole everything that comes afterwards, with the stupid explanation and these other things going on, make me think that it might be part of a psyop, or maybe both are true. Maybe the creature actually was there, and they're muddying the waters with it. And that's always the thing with these psyops, is that the whole point is to muddy the water. You don't want to reveal the truth. But if you can reveal little bits of truth with a whole lot of fantasy and bullshit, then no one knows what's real and what's not. Like the video, or like the photos that are circulating now. You get one that's a clear fake because it's a still from an X-Files episode. And just by doing that, you instantly delegitimize the other ones that are out there. Because if there's one fake floating out there, then that the other one could be a fake, and who's to say the next one isn't a fake? You're destroying faith in it at that point.
Right. There was a series of photos that I saw years ago, and I'm looking up, this case and pictures for it, and I'm seeing some images, like I said, that I've seen before. But there was a series of photos that kind of makes me think of this case. And I don't know if you remember it. It was almost like a pod type thing, and it opened up and it looked like this little thing. And if that's the same thing, those pictures are gone. I can't find them anywhere, which is weird.
Yeah, that doesn't sound familiar to me, but I don't know.
I'll try to look for those pictures and put them in the show notes. But I wonder if it's the same thing. That is a creepy looking creature, though.
Yeah. And it's got paralyzing skin, so, don't lick it.
Or even touch it, apparently.
Yeah. Yeah, don't do anything with it other than, maybe if you have gloves on, you can give it a helping hand, but, don't be a dick about it. Like, don't push him down or punch him, because that's just mean. He can't help that he's got toxic skin. It's not his fault. It's his nature, man. It's his nature.
He didn't touch you. You touched him, you jerk.
He didn't ask to be shot out of the sky. He wasn't like, please, military officer, blast me out of the sky so I can crash in Brazil. He didn't ask for that. He was buzzing like a bee, and he gets blasted out of the sky and crashes, and he's like, fuck, I don't know where I am. And these people are groping me. So what are you going to do? What are you going to do?
It seems so weird how these creatures are described as something that would be fitting to be alive in the Brazilian jungle. I don't know. I almost kind of don't link it to any UFO crash when I hear and see these creatures.
Oh, you think it's just some weird creature from the rainforest creeping its way back out?
Maybe. I mean,
Some primordial beast.
I don't know if it's so much like an amphibian, even having like the poison on the skin on the outside like that. That's, I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's just a type of cryptid.
Or maybe it's both.
Yeah.
It's all related, man. The sulfur smell. The sulfur smell. It fucking came in from somewhere else.
Ooh.
He nightcrawlered his way in.
Right.
He bamfed his way in.
Yikes.
But the question remains, why didn't he bamf his way out?
Right. And that goes for like everything else if it's all connected, right? Why can't it just leave?
Yeah. Why can't it?
That's if
Was it exiled? Did it lose? Maybe the UFO or whatever it is part of it. They need that to, like, that's the transport module. It's not a spaceship. It's a fucking transport module.
It's interesting though to just sit back and think about, because I haven't heard much of this story at all, and to hear that a UFO researcher was pulled in and asked about a case, and they're like, "No, I've never heard of it." Here, well, look at this.
Yeah,
look at this.
I don't think it was that she'd never heard of it, but she herself didn't do any research on it. Is what she was saying.
Right. I wonder if she was just like a noob. I wonder if this case is just like Roswell is to us here. You know.
Yeah, maybe, except it's way more modern. I mean, 96. It's not that long ago, really.
Right.
I mean, that's almost 50 years after Roswell.
It's not a long time in alien years.
But really, what is in alien years, you know? They're on a whole other fucking... They don't even... They observe nonlinear time, so, you know, could be a minute, could be a century, doesn't fucking matter. It's all at the same time. Because they're fucking aliens from the fourth dimension.
So do you think that they're actually going to release this reporter, this ufologist is going to release anything, or we're going to see anything more about this in the future?
I think so. I think there's a reason it's making the rounds again. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see the alleged video at some point, whether it's authentic or not. Who the fuck knows? But the story's not going to go away. Well, I guess we just have to wait and see with everything else, you know. They're working at the speed of bureaucracy, so who the fuck knows? We're never gonna get real fucking disclosure from the government. It's never gonna fucking happen. I think this is where we're at right now is probably about as close as we're gonna get. But for anyone holding out hope that an alien civilization is gonna touch down and fucking show us the way or whatever, that's not gonna happen. As wonderful as it would be, if it was gonna happen, it would have happened already.
You don't think they're gonna wait till humanity's at its absolute fucking worst? I mean,
no. Why would they? Like think about it from a realistic standpoint. Like, let's just for a minute here assume that all this stuff the aliens have been saying all along what people have been saying the aliens have been telling them is true, where we need to de-weaponize, we need to take care of the environment, take care of each other, live in peace, all that bullshit. Let's assume that's true. And they came here, they warned people, nobody fucking listened, and we got worse. Why would they step in? They're like, dude, we already warned you guys, and now you're worse. Like, fuck that. Just let us kill ourselves off at that point. You know, if you're a spacefaring advanced race and you meet these fucking troglodyte barbarian assholes on some planet who don't give a fuck about each other, they don't give a fuck about the world they're living on, and they're just constantly being assholes to each other, you might step in and say, guys, simmer down. This is the way. And then they don't listen. And then they develop more advanced weapons. Like, don't save them. What do you save them? And then what? They don't learn anything from it because they were saved. Like, oh, we can keep doing this and they'll fucking save us. They got the fucking technology to save us. It doesn't work like that, man. Like, they're just going to say, fuck off. We tried to help you and you just got worse. So you guys go and we'll take over after you leave.
Well, my answer,
nice and easy.
My answer to that is if we're going to listen to anything that like people who've said they've dealt with them, like Dr. Turner, is they work with deception and lies and stuff like that. So, I mean, to me, if we're going that route, they're going to come back at our absolute worst as a civilization, at our absolute lowest point to save us, to be our saviors, to be in a higher regard, to hold them in a higher regard, to be seen as gods even by some people. That's bound to happen if something like that happens. It's to be in an advantageous position.
That's the Ancient Aliens thing all over again. And I think that's just kind of falling into that narrative where they did it before, so they'll do it again. Like, and that's if you're buying into the fact that the ancient gods were aliens. But if the ancient gods were aliens, why isn't the modern god an alien? How does that work? But
because people don't want their god to be an alien.
Why? Alien gods are way cooler. Everybody knows that.
Yeah,
but I mean, you can. I guess you could still follow that belief without ascribing it to aliens, though. You know, like if it's some sort of not so much that they are, like all powerful or creator beings or anything, but that there is a higher power, and that all this stuff is like kind of from the same sort of reality that higher power is from, which is separate from our own reality, but connected in a way. But I don't know. I don't think the spacefaring race thing is a thing. I think if there was actual aliens that were coming, I don't think they would be, especially if they were being exploratory. I don't think that they would be so deceptive. You know, if we were seeing them and we were obviously aware of them, I think at that point it would just be like a thing like, well, fuck, let's interact then, see what happens. But I think if you are some sort of trickster entity or a entity from a different sort of reality, maybe a non-physical reality that's able to cross over, I think that's where you would use deception. And I think part of that could be with disguising yourself with modern legends. So like whatever time you come across, like if it's biblical time, you create these crazy angels and balls of light and shit like that, thunder and lightning. Now it's like the whole idea of aliens is now the explanation for strange lights in the sky. It's all aliens. So why not kind of alter your encounters to reflect an alien sort of experience? And you're still getting the same, like, whether it be an energy drain or whatever, you're still getting that. It's just you're updating your tactics for the modern era.
Part of me thinks that the way things are going now with everything in political climates and social climates and everything, I think now is the perfect time. Like, we've been geared up to be more susceptible to follow this alien race that's going to reveal itself. Why, I don't know. They would reveal itself now, but like I said, maybe to be seen in some level of power, precision of power. But I don't know. Maybe we're at that point where it's like the next page in the UFO novel of interaction with humanity. I don't know. I can't say what's going to happen next. I don't know. I wish there was, and there hasn't been in a long time, like a huge UFO flap to where they're not a flap of like a UFO sightings, just a huge spike in interest in it again. There's just a lot more people paying attention to it and stuff. Now, go ahead.
If you look online in all the UFO community, a lot of it ends up just being like fucking middle school bullshit. Like, oh, we don't like this guy and the people that support him because he's an asshole to this guy. And this
Right.
girl doesn't like that guy, so fuck both those guys. They're all pieces of shit. And it's unfortunate that it's like we're here to talk about fucking UFOs, dude. Like, why are we getting into personal vendettas? Like, why are people like there's fucking gatekeepers and shit, and people get pissed off if you don't buy into their specific beliefs on UFOs and aliens and what they are. It's fucking ridiculous, man. It's fucking ridiculous.
Jeez, yeah. Even in every community, man, that's like the end result. Infighting and bullshit like that.
Yeah, it really is. I don't know, man. We're as a fucking race, we're doomed. I wish the aliens would just come and fucking Independence Day the fucking world. But we're not so lucky because they're not goddamn aliens, and Bigfoot probably just wants a hug.
I'm ready for the laser beam death.
Yes, please.
Take me, aliens.
Yes. Take me by laser beam. Pew pew. Pew.
Thank you for listening to the Whatcast. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, iTunes, and YouTube. Enjoy the podcast. Get yourself a Whatcast t-shirt or a sticker pack. Who was that dude on that one episode? Try the links in Homie's page. All this and more can be found at www.thewhatcasters.com. Thanks again for listening and have a great week.